All right, so we're starting on our postcard project. You guys should have made a folder inside of your D-Drive student data inside your folder called Postcard Project. Did everyone make that folder for me?
Yes.
All right, in that folder we're going to download some photos that are going to go and match our theme for our postcard. And you guys can choose whichever destination you want to use. I'm going to use San Francisco. I'm going to make a postcard for San Francisco. You guys can keep in mind whatever city you want to use, but thematically, the photos you download should match the theme of that city. So what I'm going to do is just open another tab, go to my Google search bar, and I'm just going to type in San Francisco. And then I'm going to hit images. And this is pretty good. But what is most important what's one of the most important steps I need to do at this point? Tools, exactly. And what about tools?
You want to go to size for the large.
Size. We want to deal with photos that are large because if you start with a small photo, it's going to have low resolution. You're not going to be able to zoom in or really use it. So we need a large photo, so we hit the filter for large photos. And then you can do usage, copyright, label for reuse with modification, and see what comes up. But if you don't plan on using this commercially, you also have options there. So at this point, I see some photos. I think I'm going to use this one. Not so much. I don't like that one. Yeah? Here's one for Golden Gate. Here's one that's okay. So I'll right-click on it, download it, save image. What else comes to mind when you think of San Francisco?
What's it called? The Pacific Arts of Fine Arts.
Alcatraz. I'm going to do cable cars.
Okay.
We all have different ideas of San Francisco, but I'm going to use cable cars. I think that's one of the most iconic.
Yeah, that is.
So I'll right-click this, get a cable car. What else did you guys mention?
What's that name? The
Alcatraz? Someone
yeah,
said Alcatraz.
Yeah, they did.
Let's take a look at that. Here's Alcatraz. So maybe I'll download a photo of Alcatraz. Make sure it's a large photo, and remember you have to get you can't download the thumbnail, else it'll download really small. You have to select it and wait for the larger photo to download. All right, so I get these photos downloaded, and then I go to my folder. And I go to my postcard project. And I got all these photos. The other thing I want you to download is a stamp.
A stamp?
Yes, and make sure it has transparency in it. So postage, stamp, let me see what comes up. No. Postage. Here's one right here. This one seems pretty good. And I'm going to say PNG. Yeah, just so it's transparent. There we go. These are great. Something like this, maybe. Something like this. PNG is a format that brings in the transparency so you can see through everything that's not the image.
And your red one.
Red's fine.
Is it?
All right, so whatever city you chose, you could choose Hawaii. Has anyone been to Hawaii before? Paris. Even if you haven't been there before, you kind of know what the iconography is for those locations. So once you download your photos, you're going to open up Photoshop. And you can hit Create New. And remember, at this point, you have an option to choose a template size. So I'm just going to go to Photo and Landscape 5x7.
5x7.
I'm going to see what they have under print real quick. Yeah, I'm just going to do Photo, Landscape 5x7. And I'm going to name this, what are we doing? Postcard. Postcard SF. Create. All right, so there's my template. Was everyone able to create a template? Yep. Awesome. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my photo of San Francisco. So I could do the place embedded, but instead the 5x7 landscape in photo. So if you if you hit Create New, you go to Photo, right here. What did you choose? All right. Okay, so you should have this template laid out. Now I'm just going to start opening some of the photos I want to use, and I'll bring them in. You could also do the embed, but I don't know if I want to turn them into smart objects. Why not? We could, but I just want you guys to understand how to bring them in also as photos, images. So I'm just going to open this one by going to my folder that I've named Postcard. And I'm just going to grab this photo here and open it. I like it, so I'll select all, Control A, hit my Move tool, drag it up to my postcard, drag it back down, and release. All right. And then I'm going to hit Control T to transform its size. I can hit Z as the shortcut for zoom, but right now, actually, yeah, Control plus or minus, I'm just going to zoom out, and you can see how much bigger my photo is than my actual card. So I have to scale it down so that we have a better fit. That looks good to me. That's a pretty good fit. I'm going to tell the computer I like it. That's the scale I want. So I'm just going to hit the check button at the top right. And now it's scaled it that size. The other way I could have done it, instead of opening up the photo, I could have said File and just, do you guys remember which one I choose?
Open.
Where is it at? Place Embedded. and it'll bring it in as a smart object. I could have done that also. So those are your choices on how to bring in a photo into this document. So I'll bring in another photo. I'm going to bring in the cable car. So I go to File. This time I'm going to do Place Embedded. And I'm going to grab my cable car right here. I'm going to place my cable car maybe right there. Under Photos. And that size seems okay to me. And I'm just going to hit check. And notice, because I brought it in as Place Embedded, it is a smart object, which means that I can undo and it's non-destructive. It does make my file bigger. Does everyone understand that? So this one of the Golden Gate is destructive. If I erase the ink, I mess up the photo. This one is a smart object. I can erase the ink and I can bring it back. It's non-destructive. So I've changed my mind. I'm going to bring in the Golden Gate also as a smart object. Place Embedded. Grab my Golden Gate. And I'm just going to hide this one. All right, and I can scale it, and because it's non-destructive. And actually, I'm going to hit Save. I'm going to save it as a PDF, hit OK. And with my Golden Gate selected, I'm going to scale it up by hitting Control T and just scaling it a little bigger, trying to get that perfect composition. Let me hide the cable car real quick so I can see the composition. That doesn't look too bad. That looks okay. And notice the rule of thirds, right? They have the bridge tower kind of on that intersecting rule of third right there. It's not dead center or flat. All right.
We can't necessarily have several images.
Well, that's the whole point. We're taking several images, so now I have the cable car, and I should be thinking. Exactly. I should be placing it so it's pleasing to the eye. Because what people tend to do, if you're just using your basic experience, what everyone tends to do with photos and drawings, what do? They put everything right in the center. That's fine, but it's boring. It's flat and boring. You add depth by spreading things around on the rule of thirds. So I like my cable car, but I just want my cable car. I don't like those trees. So how could I get rid of those trees? Thank you. Who said that? Amanda. Amanda's killing it again. So Amanda, yeah, I could hide this layer like this so you don't see it. And then I'm going to hit Control plus and just zoom in so I can get more detail. I'll hit the space bar so I can, I don't have to. It's not big enough yet. And now what I'm going to do is I could use my lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool, or I can use my other selection tool, my quick selection tool. I'm going to try that, and I'm going to select my cable car. Because I just want the cable car. I don't need all of the other parts of the image. So I'm just going to get my cable car. Just going to use my little quick wand here. Just select the cable car. And then I got a little too much, so I want to erase this shadow here. So I'm going to hit Alt, and that deselects. Remember, Alt deselects. When Shift adds to your selection, Alt deselects. Okay, I like that. And now how do I mask it?
Copy or drag it.
How do I mask? I just go right here to my mask tool, the cardboard with the hole in it. There we go. Now I just have my cable car. Let's see how that looks. There we go. And now I'm going to move that. And now I have my cable car. And it looks a little, I don't know, it looks a little big to me, so I'm going to hit Control T. Control T, and I'm just going to size the mask and the photo down a little bit. See how that looks. Not bad. And then I'll hide it a little bit so it looks like it's 3D coming out of the photo towards everyone. Not bad. All right, I'm feeling good about your project. Save. For me, another iconic image is the Exploratorium. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm saying Exploratorium. What is that called now?
The Palace of
Palace of Fine Arts?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's my favorite
Okay.
place.
I'm going to go ahead and use my go to File. Oh, Coit would be great too. Coit is very iconic.
Show it.
Coit is great too. But I'm just going to grab this Palace of Fine Arts. There we go.
Yeah, I love that place.
Maybe I'll place it here. All right. And then one tool I can do also, Dylan asked about this last week. How do you kind of blend this in? One generic blend is just to change the blend modes and see how it blends in naturally. And it just doesn't work very well. None of those options really look like a believable blend.
Well, it doesn't blend where the two.
Yeah, the shapes are just too square. Yeah, the shapes are too square. So one thing you can do is you can just create your own blend. And I'm going to hit Control T one more time just to see how this is sizing for me. Okay, that looks good. All right, I got it sized. Check. So Dylan was asking, well, how can you just blend it in? Well, there's a few ways you can do it. I can just grab my eraser tool, go to that layer. Oh, but it is a smart object, so eraser tool is not going to work. Let's see if my dodge tool will work. No, because it's a smart object, you cannot destroy it. It doesn't like that. So I'm going to have to do it. What's my way, my non-destructive way? My student who's killing it, she can say it again.
Mask it.
Masking. Here we go. I'm just going to put a mask on it and blend it with a mask. All right, so grab my selection tools. Hit Control. Nope. I'm just trying to figure out where. I'm just going to use my rectangle tool, grab the photo, hit my mask tool, and now go into select a mask and maybe blend it with my brush. So I'm just going to grab my brush here, use my bracket to make it a little bigger. I'm going to hit Alt, and I'm just going to erase. Just going to erase the edges and blend it in. Kind of with a smoother shape. bad. Again, you probably don't see what I'm doing now. I know where I'm going, so I can kind of visualize what I want. And then I can feather the edge so it's soft, like that. And then I'll hit OK. Let's just get a preview and see what it looks like. There we go. We're getting a little closer to that blend. The other thing I can do is what is another way to blend things? You guys said it last week. It was your first option before you knew about blend mode. I can just change the opacity. I can just change the opacity. There we go. Now we're getting a little blend in there, right? I don't like the composition though. I think that the the Palace of Fine Arts is just too, I just think it's just too powerful. I think it's overpowering the Golden Gate Bridge. So one thing I'm going to do is, well, I can leave it on top, but I could just change the order and then make the bridge transparent. But no, I think I'm good with making the the Palace of Fine Arts transparent. What I'm going to do is go to the mask again, go into select a mask, and I think I'm just going to subtract a little bit more here. I just think it's just a little too overshadowing. Too powerful there. And now I'll feather it. Does everyone know what feather means? Anyone not know what feathering means?
Just to take take off the edge of it.
The edge, you make it gradual. Instead of a sharp edge, it gradually goes into the ink from no ink subtly to a little bit more, to a little bit more, to full. All right, let's see how it looks. I don't know so much. I need it off the bridge. I want to see the bridge. So what I'm going to do is go to select a mask, and I'm just going to get funky with it. I'm just going to take it off the bridge because I want to see the bridge. So my magic cloak, I don't want it to really work on the bridge part. So I am going to paint my mask back in. And I really like the skyline also, so let's see this. And you know what? I'm gonna see what happens if I paint the bridge here and then feather the edge. All right, and now I'm just gonna put a little feather in there. There we go. And now I'm gonna hit OK. Now, how does that looking, guys? Because what I did was, in my rule of thirds, I wanted this to have visual weight. I wanted the bridge to be seen. When I just had the mask over the bridge, I lost the beauty of that icon. I took away the tower. That's what people recognize as San Francisco. So then what I did was I just put the mask back over the bridge, feathered it, and just that open sky I turned into the Palace of Fine Arts.
The edge there, that's what you did?
I did. And you guys know how to feather a mask? Did you guys see how I did that? Yep, it's on the toolbar, but you could also go into select a mask right here, and you can paint where you want the mask to be, and then you can feather it. And that's what I did. I feathered it here. The reason I went inside is because I wanted to paint where I wanted the audience to see the one layer with the bridge. So I painted the bridge so that it would be protected by my mask. And the transparent part, I let it see through where the Palace of Fine Arts is. And then I feathered it. Instead of it being a hard line right here, I went to the feather bar and I feathered it. So then it was gradual. And that's what Dylan wanted to know last week. He's like, how do I make this gradual? And right now, that's our only option, because if you did what I did, which was make each layer a smart object, you can't destroy it by using the eraser or the dodge tool. So you have to use the mask. All right. So this is looking okay. The cable car, unfortunately, what do you guys, tell me what's going on with the cable car?
It's kind of
Floating water.
It is floating in the water. But
it's the color.
the color. It's too, what's the word?
Right.
There's a word for that though. You're right, it's too bright, but it's...
Contrasting?
Yes, it is contrasting. But why is it contrasting? Because one photo is... What? One's very intense. One has very intense, it's saturated.
Yeah, saturated.
Look how saturated that is. Versus these aren't very saturated. And so this all of a sudden starts to attract your eye because it's standing out. It just has too much contrast. So what I'd have to do is kind of go in there and fix that saturation. And how would I fix saturation?
The round icon on the bottom?
Yes, adjustment layer. So I just go to the cable car adjustment layer. I go to the cable car layer, and then I'm just going to put a magic effect on it, adjustment layer. And which one should I choose? Yeah, I could choose color, but you see any others that might work? I'm going to try hue and saturation. I put hue and saturation over it, and I'm going to put the clipping tool on so it only affects the cable car and nothing below. And now I'm going to play with the cable car. I'm going to desaturate it, take the color out. Not so much. I like it with a little more red in there. The brightness I could take down. Brightness also helps. So I can play with these until it feels in my eye. Just looking at it, it feels a little better than it looks now. The other thing I didn't try was I should have just changed the opacity. That would make it a little less intense also. So for now, I'm going to hide the adjustment layer. And now I'm just going to try the opacity and see how that works. No, because now it looks like a ghost cable car. Now it looks scary. It looks like the ghost of Cable Car Pass. We don't want that. So I'm going to stick with my saturation, hue and saturation, and see what I can do with that. And I took some color out so it's not as bright. And now I just feel like it blends with the other photos. So if everyone will look up real quick, I put the adjustment layer on above the cable car. I put the clipping tool on so it only affects the cable car. And then I just played with the intensity of the saturation. So you guys want to see the before and after? Here's the after. Unhide. There's the before. Before, after. Before, after. Do you feel how it has more of a cohesive look if the lighting and the saturation match all of the elements you're using? All right. I'm feeling really good about your projects.
Save.
I'm telling you, you can do it if you don't want to, or you can not do it. And someone's computer is going to crash, and they're going to have to start from scratch.
Like Josh. He was so mad at that computer.
All right, so I have my layout that I like, that I'm comfortable with, and now it's time for text. All right, so I'm going to put on the text. And for the text, I'm going to put, what am I going to put? I'm just going to put San Francisco. Or like my nephew friend says, Scamp and Skisco. I'm going to Scamp and Skisco. I said, where are you going, Brendan? And I'm going to Scamp and Skisco. Okay, Brendan. So I'm going to put San Francisco. Oops. And obviously this is too small. I've got to increase the font size. Whoops. And I need to put it on top. There we go. And I really don't like what I'm seeing. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to change the font color, make it red. There we go. Actually, I can make it the color of the bridge. Boom, I sampled the bridge. Oh, that looks too orange. Me no likey. Here we go. Let's see. Let's try it again. All right. I'm going to go choose my color. Just experiment with some colors. I really want to get that red in there. That looks good. And all I did was play with the color palette until I found a color that I felt looked pretty good. All right. Now, what was the rule we said about text at the very beginning?
It can't be like, what is it, same color as the background?
Exactly, it has to have contrast, and this does not. The bridge and the font are the same, so I need to separate it somehow. So there's a few ways to do it. I can select the letters, double click on that layer, and you guys remember from last week what that creates, layer style, and I can put a drop shadow on there. There we go. Choose drop shadow, and I can now manipulate the drop shadow. I get a preview, so I can make the distance of the drop shadow, the spread, the size. All of these things until, you know, and you just trial and error until it looks the way you like. You can change the opacity. Not bad. All right.
This not JPEG, huh?
Nope.
Okay.
I might be able to read that though. I'm not sure.
I
Does it
don't
read? Does it read GIFs? No, no, it won't read a GIF. But it will read a GIF. No. What am I saying? A GIF, I think it reads. It should. All right, I'm just going to experiment with the colors. I like what I'm seeing. I'm going to also put an outer glow or an outline on that just to see what that looks like. I'm thinking yellow. So if I hit outer glow, select outer glow, choose the color, let's make it yellow.
Professor, we have a question.
Okay,
When you don't like a picture, how do you delete it?
just delete the layer.
Oh, this, okay.
All right, so let me make the spread a little bit more. That looks pretty, ooh, that doesn't look good. All right, now I got a little separation. Just by adding a drop shadow and an outer glow, it gives it depth. It separates the foreground from the background. All right, pretty happy with this. I'm gonna add one more thing. I'm gonna add a border. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna hit a new layer. I'm going to select the canvas there, and then I'm just going to go to select, modify, hit the wrong one. Select, modify, border, and I'm going to choose maybe 150 pixels. There we go. And then on that layer, let's see if I can just dump some yellow or red paint. I'll try red first. So I'll just grab my paint bucket. And grab some of this red paint. And just dump the red in. And it gives me a little border. Let me see how it looks. All right. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. I don't really like it. At some point it feathered it, and I don't like that. So I'm going to hit Control Z, go back. I'm just going to go to this layer. And on that layer, I'm just going to delete all the ink. Just hit delete, start over, select, modify, border, maybe 100. Hit OK. And I'm going to
So you can mask this.
dump some paint in.
Mask of it, so do
That's the mask, right?
yeah.
I want that. So how do I
Yes,
get
sir.
it out and put it in the other?
How you make it that, what's it called?
So you can add a mask.
A layer
that's right,
above
okay.
another layer only affects
This
the
one,
layer
right?
below. Right.
Okay.
Mask.
Like making that, what's called, just one layer effect.
Oh, okay.
Just
My
one.
brain is not working today.
Yep. All right, so this is just a prototype. This is what we have. I would definitely put a black edge on that border. But that's where we're going with a card, right? So what we did was we made a composite of a bunch of elements, iconography that kind of represent San Francisco. We tried to balance it aesthetically with composition to make it happen. All right, so that is how you make your postcard.